A little more than 1 year after the U.S. invasion, Gal Luft, writing for the Brookings Institute, evaluated the state of the Iraqi oil industry, the pillar of its economic recovery, which has been brought to a halt by attacks on 2 major pipelines and the assassination of a top oil executive. The impact of these attacks illustrates the fragility of Iraq's oil export sector. The Iraqi resistance and their sabotaging of Iraqi oil infrastructure have already created an inhospitable investment climate for multinational oil companies. Some of these companies have already decided to halt operations in Iraq altogether or to divert investments to more stable energy-producing countries. A major investment conference in Basra, to which all major oil companies were to have been invited in mid-April, was canceled because oil executives refused to take the risk. The United States needs to brace itself, and the Iraqis, for the possibility that despite all efforts, Iraqi oil production in the next few years will continue to be unreliable and erratic, and the world's second-largest oil treasure will stay in the ground for many years to come. As observed by John Mearsheimer and Stephen Walt in their The Israel Lobby and U.S. Foreign Policy, oil companies, which generally seek to curry favor with big oil producers like Saddam's Iraq or the Islamic Republic of Iran, did not lobby for the 2003 war, which most of them thought was a foolish idea. Contrary to the conventional wisdom held by countless critics of the war throughout the world. Though it is quite easy to see for ourselves that American oil not only did not come out on top after the invasion, but it's also easy to see why the oil industry would have been war-wary, since, as Mearsheimer and Walt note, oil companies, as is almost always the case, wanted to make money, not war. Production of oil, obviously, plummeted following the invasion and subsequent violence. Indeed, 2000 production levels wouldn't be met until the American withdrawal in 2011. The auctioning off of Iraq oil contracts wouldn't take place for years after the invasion. When Iraq planned the first round in 2008, it was withdrawn. But even then, the contracts, which included ExxonMobil, Chevron, Royal Dutch Shell, Total, BP, were not even particularly lucrative by industry standards. And instead of those contracts, the oil ministry in August signed its first major post-Saddam-era contract with China National Petroleum. The next year, at the end of June 2009, a 2-day round of bidding was successful, though the contracts on the first of Iraq's 2-day bidding round went to European and Asian oil companies eager to get back into the market and unafraid of assuming the risk of investing in Iraq. The traditionally less aggressive U.S. oil majors were present but did not submit bids for the 5 fields on offer.
The first contract has been settled and won by a consortium of the British company BP and the Chinese company CNPC.
Though the situation in Iraq was far from ideal still for oil companies looking for profits. Contracts were awarded for the 2 fields in relatively stable southern Iraq, but fields in the much more volatile north and on the edge of Baghdad's Sadr city attracted either no bids or a single unsuccessful bid seeking 3 times more profit than the Iraqi government was offering. Iraq's largest oil field, at Rumaila, would be awarded not to a U.S. firm, but a partnership between British Petroleum and the Chinese National Petroleum Company. The results of the auctions were summed up aptly at the time by Mohammed Abbas for Reuters in a piece titled, "No Boon for U.S. Firms in Iraq Oil Deal Auction." Critics said the 2003 U.S. invasion of Iraq was driven by oil, but United States oil majors were largely absent from an Iraqi auction of oil deals snapped up instead by Russian, Chinese, and other firms. Quoting government spokesman Ali al-Dabagh, "No one, even the United States, can steal the oil, whatever people think." Only 1 U.S. firm bid in the second round, and of the 4 fields bid on by U.S. firms in the first round, only ExxonMobil won a major prize, the supergiant West Qurna Phase 1 field. U.S.-based Occidental came away with a quarter stake in a consortium that won a contract for the giant Zubair field. By contrast, Chinese state oil firms were involved in every first-round bid and made a strong showing in the second. So U.S. firms won only one of 6 major oil fields. The other 5, representing several million barrels per day of potential output, went to European, Russian, and Asian oil companies. The one major U.S. contract went to ExxonMobil. But even this contract would ultimately go to PetroChina, unofficially in 2018 and finally officially in January of 2024. Saddam Hussein's Iraq was protectionist and closed to Western foreign investment, though upon being forced open, American companies got a much smaller slice than many appear to believe. A helpful visual can be found in an article for the Contemporary Review of the Middle East Journal, written by Sujata Ashwarya and Jamia Millia Islamia. In showing the deals from the first 2 rounds of auctions, we see 2 American companies out of some 16. U.S. firms were reluctant, as described earlier by Jane Araf for the Christian Science Monitor, regarding how the traditionally less aggressive U.S. oil majors did not submit bids for the 5 fields on offer. Indeed, history tells us that U.S. oil companies are less aggressive in terms of their tolerance to risk exposure on their investments. History also tells us that oil has taken a back seat in influencing U.S. foreign policy in the Middle East for many years now.